like 15 minutes. Is that
Sure,
okay with
yeah,
that?
sure. Yeah.
All right. Hello.
Yeah.
So welcome back to
You're in that
Aether,
More
Sakaso.ca. And Satomi and I are both here down at Robson and Burrard.
Yeah.
We're kind of at the tail end of the demonstration here. I think
It's pretty well over. Yeah.
it's pretty much over.
Yeah.
But we did see some of the festivities earlier, and it
Yeah.
was a pretty happening scene.
Yes.
But we've got some folks here who are very well informed and are happy to talk to us today. So just to continue on from where we have been, our channel is all about healing and growth, right?
Yeah.
So and usually we focus on personal healing and growth, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And individual people. But what we're seeing is that, like in Canada here and sparked around the world, is that there seems to be a healing that people are doing together, right?
Yes,
Sort of as a group en masse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like it's a phenomena, and there's a lot of awakening that's happening, a lot of awareness that people are coming to, so we're just trying to understand where people are coming from, why they're here, right? So you don't mind us asking you a few questions?
Yeah.
Awesome. A little closer here?
Yeah.
Yeah, not both on camera.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I'll just keep you anonymous.
Okay.
If you're cool with that.
Yeah.
So the question that I like to ask people first is, what is it about these events? What's motivating you? What I understand is that they're about mandates, right?
Yeah.
Ending the mandates,
Yeah.
right? For vaccination, for all the masking and restrictions on travel,
Vaccine ID or any kind of digital ID.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So people are here demonstrating against that.
Yes.
Right. And so they would just want to have their freedoms back. That's
Yeah.
what I understand. Is that
Pretty
you
well.
guys would
Pretty
see it?
well.
Yeah.
If you want to call it discrimination, we're being discriminated against. We're
Okay.
no different than, like, say, if Black Lives Matter, they feel like they're being discriminated against.
Yeah.
But because we haven't gotten the vaccine, we're being discriminated in the exact same way. The only thing with Black Lives Matter is that that's more of a projected feeling. People feel they're being discriminated. There's arguments on both sides, but there's no law saying that Black people are being physically discriminated against. In fact, there's like laws, inclusion laws, where like if you're in a fireman and they have to have a certain number of minorities, even if there's say like a white person that's maybe more qualified, he has to give up his job to someone that has a different ethnic background, just to make visually appealing to the masses, I guess. So what I'm saying is, so if anything, there's laws to over-include them, but there's definitely no laws to say that you can't hire Black people. Where for us, it's different. There's laws saying that we can't be hired, we can't be worked, we can't be in certain places, we can't go to supermarkets or in some supermarkets or some places.
You're
business.
Unvaccinated. You mean,
For me, mean unvaccinated.
Because you're unvaccinated.
Yeah. So
and because in British Columbia we have a vaccine passport.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of rules in place.
Yeah.
Companies have policies about government has policies. A lot of companies have policies that say you have to be vaccinated to work here. So that's what you mean, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I've been affected myself personally. So
Other places too is you have to wear a mask to
Yes.
go into a restaurant or into a store. So they want everybody to wear a mask,
Right.
or else they won't let them in.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you'd have to fight and say that you have max.
Do you have an exemption?
Medical
exemption. Yeah. So if people aren't aware on the channel here, there are sometimes there's a workaround for a mask having a medical exemption. That if you can show that, you don't need to have it necessarily, but I think you get challenged a lot. Is that true?
You get challenged a lot.
Yeah.
And if it's just a small card, a lot of places won't take it. They want to see like a doctor's note.
A doctor's note. Okay.
But just to make it clear that it's very hard, almost impossible to get a vaccine, or not. It is impossible to get a vaccine exemption. That doesn't exist, basically. But
really, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's nearly. You have to be basically half dead to get a vaccine exemption. But mask exemptions you can get a mask exemption, but it's very, very, very hard. I only know a few people that got a couple mask exemptions before the government cracked down, because the government told
There's more pressure.
they put
over
pressure
time.
on the doctors over time. They told
Okay.
the doctors don't give out any more mask exemptions. And after that point, hardly anyone got it. You had to I don't know, you had to prove beyond the shadow of doubt through like years and years of medical reports of whatever they deemed evidence. But I mean,
Okay.
I know a lot of people that brought evidence forward and they still were rejected.
Still got rejected.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very hard to get that. But
So,
anyway, so
what you're saying is that since you're not vaccinated and you don't want to wear a mask,
yeah.
that you feel as though you're being segregated, that there's a kind of two. Is it fair to say
system.
two-class
Yes.
system?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
And this is how they started, World War II with, the Germans segregating the Jews, spreading division. Again, a lot of it has to do with invoking fear, fear of the government. On one side, on the other side, fear of whatever fake ailment they come up with, whatever, the vaccine, the virus or whatever. So basically, it just the whole atmosphere, people butting heads and fighting each other, and all this hate and disagreements, and it really boils down to that a certain group of us, our rights are being infringed,
Okay.
and the other side doesn't see that. They think their rights are being infringed, but I mean,
they're so you mean the other group being the vaccinated group?
yes,
They feel they're being imposed upon
yes,
because when you don't get vaccinated,
They
what do you
think
mean?
that-
They think you're selfish, and if you don't wear a mask, they say you're selfish too because you're trying to spread the virus to other people because you don't want to wear the mask.
If you don't,
Yeah.
you're not being careful. You're not
Yeah,
caring
that's
about others and how you
Yeah.
might pass it on.
yeah.
So you're putting their safety in jeopardy. That's
Yeah,
That's what they think. But the thing is, that the problem with that is we live in a society of what's called freedom. And what freedom really means, for the most part, is you're innocent until proven guilty. So what they're trying to flip the script. So they're trying to say that you're unhealthy until you take this certain product. It doesn't even make any sense. It's not even like I can even prove myself. I can get a serology test, which is like it's a blood test to tell whether or not you had that disease in the past, and it tells you whether or not you're immune. So it shows if you have antibodies, right? So where the SARS test just tests for the protein, it doesn't test whether or not you're immune. Where a serology test will let you know if you're immune. So if I get a serology test saying that I had COVID, I'm healthy, I've got a better immune system than any vaccine can give me, and I can go to any employer and say, hey, look, I'm healthy, I'm more healthy than your guy that got a vaccine. And they still won't accept that. It's all about the vaccine. So, there's one thing, you're innocent until proven guilty. Now we're guilty until proven innocent. But not even guilty until proven innocent. It's guilty till you take a product, which it's so far beyond the realm of reason, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like the backwards. Going back to the vaccine pass. Right now, freedom. When you describe freedom is basically you can do anything you want. There's a zillion different possibilities in the world. You can do anything, limitless, infinity. Except you can't, cheat, steal, and kill. So basically you can't break certain basic rules, like what do they call it? The universal law. Do unto others as I have to do
The golden rule.
The golden rule, right?
Yeah,
Exactly. So pretty well, as long as you follow the golden rule, you don't hurt anyone, you don't steal anyone, you can do anything. That's freedom. It's unlimited. Versus now, once you get a vaccine passport, you're moving from freedom world into privilege world. Now, privilege world is a Rubicon. It's totally different. Now, you can't do anything. Like here, you can do anything. Here, you can't do anything at all. Nothing unless you have permission, right? So from here, freedom, do anything. Here, nothing unless you have permission. So here, you're innocent till proven guilty. Here, you're guilty till proven innocent.
When over here, you mean before COVID came along?
Yes.
And this is now the new the current
What
reality.
they're trying to get us to.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not there yet. We're
Yeah.
kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
But if we let them get this vaccine, the whole crux, that limited line is the vaccine passport, or if you want to call it the national ID. And the national ID is the crossing line. Once you cross that, once that gets mass adoption, that's it. And we might as well, we'll lose our souls after that. Because that's pretty well, this is a battle for our souls. And if you don't have your souls, you don't have health. You don't have anything. So once you...
When you say your soul, you mean kind of like your liberty, your
Again, this is a fear paradigm.
yeah,
Fear is generally not good for your health.
yeah,
And this is the love paradigm.
yeah.
So freedom, love, you can do anything, you're free, you're relaxed, you're safe.
Yeah.
Where here you're always scared. Oh, what am I going to break? What law am I going to break? What this am I going to break? Oh, I can't do that. I can only do this. And people start ratting each other. Oh, you're not doing this. You're breaking the rules. I'm going to rat you out.
Yeah.
So this is where everyone's scared of everyone, even your neighbors,
Yeah.
even your family members. So they might rat
Yeah.
you out, or they
Yeah.
got something on you.
Yeah.
Because there's a
Yeah.
zillion. What they say that society that has more rules has the more corrupted us. You've probably heard that.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
I have not heard that.
No, okay, yeah, it's a famous
Because it's the rules. They put the rules in place because people have been doing shenanigans
yeah,
in the
yeah,
past, right?
yeah.
That's why they
But
put the
when you
rules in
have
place.
too many rules, I mean, a lot of these rules don't make sense, right? And then you got rules like we all think what's right and wrong. Right is right, wrong's wrong. But if I cross this imaginary line from like one country to another, I can be a criminal here. But if I cross that imaginary line and I'm not, like, how does that work with reality? You know what I mean? Like, do you think that is conducive to reality? Do you think that, depending on where you are is how evil you are, or, you're being judged in a certain way?
Well,
So,
that comes down to all the different countries
yeah.
having their own
All
rules,
rules,
right?
That's a whole different subject.
That's a whole different
That's a whole
subject.
subject, yeah. But I mean, and just in general, the more rules you have, the more corrupt in general. Because in reality, it's like if you look at the books of laws, there's like books are like there's no way you can remember every single law. And there's one guy that actually was on George Sosol, I think he was. He was saying that the average person breaks about 4 or 5 laws every day.
Really?
You just don't realize it. There's
Interesting.
so many bylaws and so many things that you can be charged eventually, and that's where we're getting the surveillance state. The surveillance state's watching everything you do, and eventually they'll catch you breaking a law. And if you don't break a law, they'll make up a law for you to break. And they'll,
What's an example of a typical law that someone might break accidentally?
Oh, jaywalking.
Okay.
Jaywalking, cross the street where there's no cars, nowhere, or
Sure. What's another one? Just to
Oh, okay.
investigate here.
Yeah. I'm sure there's lots of them. I mean, there's certain, say, again, deviant sexual acts where, you perform whatever you do in the bedroom is your own business, but if you do this sexual act here in this country,
They have those laws in the books.
There are some places, yeah.
So,
Yeah. If you have certain sexual preferences,
yeah.
you can do it here, but you can't do it there.
Sometimes, yeah. Well, in Russia, it's actually illegal to be homosexual.
Yeah. Okay.
So
There you go.
understand.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your sexual preference makes you
Outlaw, depending on where you are.
Depending on where you live.
Yeah.
So that's I couldn't get on board with that one.
No. Yeah. There's
So
lots of other ones.
yeah.
I'd have to kind of dig down deeper. There's a whole bunch of ones like that. But
Okay.
like rules. You'll see there's these people called auditors, and what they do is you just look it up. Police auditors.
Okay.
And these are people that challenge the system. They challenge the police.
Yeah.
And they go into a scenario and they do something that is constitutionally legal, and they'll practice their constitutional rights. But a police officer that's not educated and might not know all the rights, he might challenge this guy and say, hey, you're for instance, I could be here protesting, and the cop goes, you're not allowed to be here, it's private property. Like, no, this is public property. And then they'll have a debate, and then there's people that are experts, and they'll judge who's closer to the law, who's right, who's wrong. But what it comes down to is there's these intellectual battles that these people have that are pretty complicated. And you're like, how would I know these millions of laws? And when the people that judge these people to see who's right and who's wrong, that's only for that state. If you go to a different state, different rules. You go to different states, and they get into these pretty like intellectual conversations. And sometimes these guys get beat up or jailed or handcuffed, and then the policeman did obviously crossed his boundaries, and then he gets investigated. I mean, so we've got all these scenarios, but it just like, kind of a glimpse into like how complicated it is. Like how many rules do you have to memorize? And,
So
I mean, but it's
yeah, we
interesting.
talked about this a little bit before, where we have this enormous book of laws, right? That applies to us at any given time, but people are not aware of those laws.
We're not taught them.
So how valid is that, right?
Well, exactly. If you don't know,
How can
how
you
do you
live in
know?
a society?
Where they make up laws every day,
Yeah,
new laws every
New
day.
laws.
What's legal today is not legal tomorrow.
yeah,
And again, like you go to Parliament, and what do? Pretty well, all they do is make laws.
yeah.
So if every year you're making laws,
function.
but you're never subtracting laws.
Yeah,
I mean, how can I remember every law that's been made in the House of Commons since the 1900s or even before, since like whatever, like since
Confederation.
Christ or
Yeah.
something,
yeah, yeah.
Um,
1867. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's so they expect us to know too much, and then there's also a two-tier system where the politicians can get away with everything. And again, that's just another kind of topic where the law doesn't apply to them. It's,
Right.
And we see that all the time.
yeah, yeah.
And it's how much money you have and
So-
how many court, whatever, right? But,
So if I can kind of boil down what you're saying,
Yeah.
what you're saying is that this is a whole nother set of rules that are
Yeah.
going to that they're attempting to impose on us,
yes,
and that it has the potential to go much further if they get these rules in
yes,
place.
of course,
Is that what you're saying?
100%, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
The
What's that?
goalpost
The goalpost
right?
keeps moving.
The
Yeah.
goalpost keeps moving.
Yeah, the
Yes,
goalpost keeps moving.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Another thing I wanted to mention too is before COVID, we never isolated the healthy.
Yeah.
Yes,
We
yeah.
never isolated healthy. Now they're isolating the healthy,
Yeah.
where only the sick used to be isolated,
Right.
and now the
So that again, that's an imposition on your freedom, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
And again, kind of a presumption of guilt
Guilt
before innocent.
before being proven anything,
Yeah, yeah.
you're automatically guilty without any proof,
Yeah.
without any evidence whatsoever. You're
Right.
automatically guilty.
So you're
So it's
kind of born guilty then.
Yes.
So
yes.
if you're a baby and you're born into that system,
yes.
you're automatically isolated and guilty.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sounds like religion, doesn't it? You're born a sinner.
Born sinner.
Yeah.
But if you get the vaccination, then you're okay. They'll treat you like
They'll forgive you.
Forgive you.
But
Your
even
forgiveness is in the vaccination.
even if you're still sick, if you got a vaccine, there's so many people that have gotten vaccines and they've been proven to be more likely to get COVID. Like they're like, I think 4 times more likely to get COVID if you've been vaccinated. So I mean, and there's a whole bunch of studies out there that kind of allude to this. So reality is that they're sicker. If you got the vaccine, you're going to be sicker than the unvaccinated, but still you got to pass. So like it's clown world. It's just clown
So
world.
what you're saying then, the logic doesn't hold up
No,
in the way the rule is set up.
no, and it's
If the logic is, what we're told is that the reason for all of this stuff
Yeah.
is for our safety,
yes,
right? So, but what you're saying is the rules are not providing safety.
That's right. And that's where it gets into being clown world. So even this, whatever they're even talking about, it's lies layered upon lies, layered upon lies, and it's rather sickening. But it just shows what's more like devastating is the fact that all this information is out there, and it's there if you look for it, but people choose to ignore it. And there's a narrative that's being spun by the mainstream and the government that people are following blindly. But if you look a little bit beyond that, there's all this proof out there, and there's so much proof out there, and it's insane. And it just blows my mind that people are not looking at this alternative information that's by top doctors, top scientists. I mean,
So I think what you're saying is that there is scientific information out
Yes.
there, scientific studies that have been done,
yeah,
and that's available. And I believe my impression is that that's become more available over time, which makes
Yes,
sense, right?
yes,
As
yes.
you learn more about
Yeah.
what's really going on with COVID, right?
Yeah.
So the scientific studies are out there right now, but people aren't really paying attention to them. Is that that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And that information is being buried as well. So if you do the Google searches, anything that's credible, anything that information, if you know where to look, and a lot of it's being shared within truth circles, right? But I mean, if you go to just Google, that information will be buried, like 20 pages down. You probably won't even get to it. I mean, they do put information out there. And again, is it okay if I go on a little bit of a tangent?
well, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
And this might sound a little cuckoo to some people, right?
You don't mind talking longer, do you?
No.
I do have a few questions I want to circle back to.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So these people, again, this is where it comes to get some conspiracy theory, but a lot of people will say, like, well, if there's information is out there, how come I don't know about it, right?
Right.
Well, one, you're not really meant to find it. They make it very hard for you to find that information, but they do put that information out there. And then some people say, well, why don't they lie? Like, why would they even tell us? Well, the reason why these people tell you is because they're supposed to tell you. And so to make a long story short, they're basically Satanists. And Satanists, believe it or not, have a religion. They have a set of rules. And their rules is they believe in karma, just like most people believe in karma. But their version of karma is off. So their version of karma is if they tell you and they put it out in the world, this information out in the world, they're karmically excused. Like they won't suffer the consequences of their karma. So they can do evil stuff to you as long as they tell you about it. And they are telling us about it, but they're just hiding it. So the information is out there. It's hard for us to find. So they make it hard for you to find on purpose. But they are telling you the truth. And the truth is out there if you know where to look. So all this information that condemns them is out there. And they have to put it out there. And it's kind of like, think of it this way. When you install an app on your phone, you've got a terms of agreement. And it's all, it's to install the app, you have to agree to their terms of agreement. And it's usually like a legalese document that's like 20 pages long, all written in legalese. You can barely understand it. You don't even know what it is. But you scroll through the bottom, you just press accept. Because if you're going to read that, it's going to take you like a week. Right? Does that make sense? Does that happen to you? Have you done that?
Oh yeah. And that's kind of like we were saying earlier. The law books are so big, it's impractical. Right?
Exactly.
It's not practical if you just want to play a little video game to read this gigantic legalese document.
Exactly. So what they call is the devil is in the details, right?
Yeah.
So what they do is you just made an agreement with them. You made a contract with them. So now they can steal your information, which now we know. Because now there's certain documentaries that have come out where they take all this information, they data mine us, and they use that information against us to social engineers and all that. There's documentaries on that specifically. But what you're doing is you're giving up your right to your own information through this little accept, right? So the devil's in the details. You're actually long-term hurting yourself. You're getting free game, but in the long term, you're losing your freedom.
Right.
And through a roundabout process, and it's pretty complicated. So you're not directly saying I'm giving up my freedom, but unknowingly you are through this contract, right? So that's the devil in the details. That's how Satan works, right? That's how. And again, you don't have to believe in Satan or Jesus or anything, but the people that are in control of the world believe in Satan. So you're forced to play their game.
So what you're saying is the audience doesn't need to believe it.
No.
I don't need to believe it. It's just what you're saying is the people who are kind of pulling the strings in this whole thing, they believe it.
Yes. And we're playing their game.
Okay.
So before playing their game, we have to know their rules, right?
Right.
So they're playing an advanced game.
Okay.
And they're showing us the basics, so they don't want us to play their advanced rules, right?
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
yeah. So I mean, it's just collusion. I mean, it's like people think because conspiracy is like this taboo word, but really, like, if I say to this guy here, it's like, hey, let's go to the store and negotiate a better deal. You go in first, and you say how bad it was, and then I come in after, and I get a better deal or do something. That's collusion. That's conspiracy. But two or more conspiring. So two people, when they come up with a plan. So basically, conspiracies are all around us every day. Like it's not like that big. They try to make you scared of the word conspiracy, but when you think that the richest people in the world, they're not coming up with plans how to get more money out of us, you think that's even possible?
Oh, I think it's probably possible.
Yeah. So when rich people get together, and they want to make more money, which is what they do, right?
By definition, you're saying that's a conspiracy.
Conspiracy. That's right. So I mean, conspiracies are everywhere. So don't be scared of the word conspiracy. It's just, you know, it's how the world works. So
Sure, gotcha.
yeah.
So can I ask you?
Yeah.
I could actually talk to you more about this information being buried thing, because I can kind of see. I'll touch on that for a second first, and I'll ask you a different question. But like, so when the information you do a Google search and it's buried way down there,
Yes.
you're not going to get to it because
No.
you're going to go for the top ones in
Yes.
the list, right?
Yes.
And the top ones are going to be Johns Hopkins or something like that. Or,
Yeah.
or,
Yes.
or
Yes.
all those
And let
ones.
me hold you for 1 second. Is the convenience thing. Remember before when I was talking about the internet,
Yeah.
and when they bring in Web 3.0, what they're going to do is they're going to congest the truther websites or anything that they don't agree with,
Yeah.
and that'll have really slow bandwidth. So it'll be inaccessible in the fact that, you know, they're not going to outright ban you, but they're going to make it hard to get to. Versus a video you can download from over here that's instant, right?
So what you're
same
saying
thing.
you're saying is, once
Convenience.
again,
Yes.
it's convenient and easy to access the government story,
Yes.
but it's difficult to get an alternative story.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and just like the news media, for example, you're saying they're fairly consistent in their messaging.
Mhm.
I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Is what I've noticed, right?
Yeah, of course.
Would you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah.
And it's uncannily so. When you have like different news broadcasts from across the country, from one side to the other, and people think differently from different sides of the continent,
Yeah.
but everyone's got the exact same message and even the same words quite often.
So the mainstream media,
It's so coordinated.
they're giving the same stories, no matter which newspaper or news broadcast that you're listening to,
Yes.
and even across different countries. Is that
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
what you agree with?
Yes. And then it goes back to, again, a lot of people know that the top, I think, 5 or 7 companies that own all the media, or 99 or 95% of all the media in all of North America is owned by 7 corporations. And of those whole 7 corporations, those are in turn owned.
7 or several?
I'm not sure if it's 5 or 7. I don't
Okay.
remember. There's an infographic on it.
Handful.
But a handful, but very
Yeah.
small handful.
Yeah.
So they own everything. And of those companies are owned by investment companies, of which basically 95% of the entire world is owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. Those are the 2 top investment companies that own 90% of all the wealth in the entire world. So they own basically these few companies. So basically it's the 0.0001% that control the flow of information, control all of it.
That's amazing. Can I ask you that particular fact, that 95% of everything, I think is that what you said?
Yeah.
Is owned by these 2 companies. Is that a conspiracy theory, or is that a fact?
That's a fact that you can check on your own.
Okay.
There's a documentary called Monopoly,
Okay.
and basically what this guy does is tell you to check for yourself.
Sure.
And what you do is you go to Yahoo Finance. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
And you go to any company in the world, and you can go to who owns them, right?
Sure.
They all have to list their
Freedom! Awesome.
So all these companies have to register who owns them, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at every company, so if you look at every company, they have all these like top owners, right? So usually the top 4 or 5 owners, you'll see quite often. You'll see like certain investment companies that are on the top.
Okay.
So say you take around any random company, you look at the top 5 owners, right?
Yeah.
Now, of those 5 owners, there's going to be a couple that you're going to see everywhere, right? And they're investment companies, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you look at all these other companies that aren't those investment companies, other ones, you look who owns them, and then you'll see again these same similar companies. So basically, you'll see is like low-level investment companies, and all these small individual companies are owned by a lot of people, but those are owned by the smaller investment companies. And you see who owns those small investment companies are these bigger ones, and you see who owns them are these bigger ones. And then ones at the very top are BlackRock and Vanguard. But so Vanguard owns, you might have a company here that's partially owned like 30% by BlackRock, and then some by this and this and this. But if you go up the ladder with these other ones, well, these guys own those guys, these guys own that guy, and you go to the very top, it's a pyramid, and the guys at the top is Vanguard. And again, you can do this on your own. Go to any company, look at the top 5 investors. Check out like 1,000 companies, look at the top, and then of those ones that you don't recognize, keep going up the ladder. And when you keep on going up the ladder with all of them, it goes.
Okay, I'll ask a stupid question then. So what? So what does it mean if those guys at the top, and there's only a couple of guys who own everything?
They can influence. So if they own,
Actually,
yeah.
there's another thing with the media. If you go around all over the world, is build back better. Why is all other countries saying that?
Saying the same thing.
Same thing. Right?
Yeah.
Same
So
logo.
it's the same logo. That's what he's talking about.
So country after country, they're all using that same slogan.
Yeah.
Owned by the same block law.
Yeah, Charles Schwab. Yeah.
What does that?
World
What does that
Economic
mean?
Forum.
What does that mean if they all use the same?
Well,
Build
someone's
Back Better?
influencing them.
The countries are all conspiring together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So,
And that's another thing you go in terms of the Charles Schwab thing that he's mentioned. Charles Schwab is a phrase that came from, Build Back Better was a phrase that came from Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab is the founder and president of the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is a think tank that influences most of the first world countries and the Western nations in the world. And they have a thing, which this is what a lot of people don't know about. They have a thing called the Young Leaders Program where they train leaders and promote those leaders. And Charles Schwab was boasting on record, on TV, where half of the Liberal cabinet, or more than half the Liberal cabinet, has been a global leader trainee, coming from the World Economic Forum, train these people. So they're kind of, again, a group of people that are influenced by a foreign power, not Canadian power, because the World Economic Forum is all about globalism. So that's what's in globalism's interest, not Canada's interest. So half of our politicians that we've elected have allegiances to a foreign entity. It's a global entity, but it's not Canadian entity. So they don't mind giving up Canadian sovereignty, Canadian wealth.
before you go there,
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, half the Liberal cabinet,
Yeah.
the Liberals currently are in power in Canada as the government.
Yeah.
Half of the cabinet have been trained in Charles Schwab's WEF
program.
Young Leaders
program, something like that.
and so they basically have the same they have the same training. Does that mean that?
Yeah.
Let me just ask you that. Does that mean they were trained in welding, or in?
Politics, obviously. Politics.
So-
I don't know. I don't even know, but
I'm just going to boil this
yeah,
down,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So what were they trained in? Do you have any idea?
Propaganda, social engineering.
Why do you say that? I'm sorry, I'm just going to challenge.
Because they have an agenda, right? So if you have an agenda, you have to convince people to do what you want, right?
Yeah.
Their agenda is globalism, right? So and going step further than globalism, to get to pure globalism, government. So that again, so they're going to steer the world towards a communist type of one world order kind of paradigm. So they're going to change the way you think about stuff to be in line with a certain their way of thinking. And then you think of it as cancel culture. You want to think of it as being politically correct. They're making certain things you're not allowed to talk about. Certain ideas you're not allowed to have.
But why do you say? I think I understand why you're saying that. And you have to forgive me for challenging you.
Sure, no, that's fine.
But I'm trying to break it down for the audience.
Of course. Yeah.
So you're saying cancel culture and that kind of thing, which that belongs under the category of wokeism.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So So in other words, you're not allowed to say certain things like use racial slurs. Or be part of certain groups that are considered to be subversive
Yeah.
or somehow
Yeah.
Unhealthy for Canadian
Yeah.
society, right?
Yep.
So, so what those groups are being censured.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
By cancel culture and wokeism.
Yeah.
And
And being unvaccinated is one of those subcultures they're trying to demonize, that they're trying to make a cancel culture. You know, the government openly says, rat these people out. The government openly says, these guys are undesirables or a waste of space. And you look at some of the quotes that Trudeau said, is incredible. You know, fringe group of undesirables. You know, it's quotes from his mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These guys are taking up space.
Yeah.
Hitler said that. Hitler said the Jews are taking up space. I mean, remember, these guys are eugenicists, so they want to depopulate the world. So if you're a useless eater, that's the term they use, that means you're taking up space. That means you're not providing any good to the world, so you don't deserve to be here. That's kind of thing. But who decides that? You know, I challenge anybody that's a eugenicist or anyone that thinks the world's overly populated, go kill yourself. And if you think there's too many people in the world, kill yourself. Don't try to kill everyone else. I mean, obviously you're being like a hypocrite if you're saying, oh, there's too many people in the world, all you guys die. Well, why don't you act with, be a leader and do yourself, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. If you're not,
it's not
willing,
funny. It's not funny.
It's not funny. But if you're not willing to do something yourself, don't expect other people to do it, right?
Yeah. So let me shift gears. Is that okay?
Say that again. Yes.
Shift gears.
Yeah.
So how do we get out of this?
Oh, okay.
You're speaking earlier a little bit about staying in your heart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How about we talk about that? That was
okay.
really
Well, okay. That's two parts. And that's the easy part. To beat this, we're not going to beat the people in power because they got too much power. We can't play their game. The only game we can play is the game they can't play, right?
Which is what?
It's a spiritual war.
Okay.
And so to beat the spiritual war, it's an information war, right?
Okay.
So
so you mean hearts and minds kind of thing?
Yes. Yeah. So there's two parts. There's the happiness part. If you're not happy within your own heart, you're not going to be able to communicate with people effectively, and it'll affect your health and all that kind of stuff. So like like you said, to beat them, they don't know how to play the game of happiness and fulfillment. So again, you attract bees with honey. You don't attract bees with a bat. You know what I mean? You can't scare a bee into going to a hive, but you can lure them in with honey. So for us being happy and joyful, we're going to attract people to our side, right? So that's the one part of it. But it's human nature, and it's fear is a part of the human existence that is important. You can't deny that. You can't say, "Oh, never be fearful," because then all of a sudden you'll stand in the middle of the road and get hit by a truck, and you don't care, right?
Right.
So the whole thing is fear. We have to use that to our advantage, right?
Okay.
So you have to be fearful, but of the right stuff. How do you feel fearful of the right stuff? You have to know the evil in the world to be fearful of it. So you have to research it. So you have to have the right. So like this whole thing about
awareness.
There's two sides. There's the love part.
Yeah.
And there's fear part. So you have to accept the fear and study it, not cower from it, but live in the love part, but spend some time in the fear part to know it. You have to know what's going on. It's because you will be fearful when you hear the evil in the world. When you explore this evil, you go down the rabbit hole, so they say, it's freaking scary. If you don't believe people actually, are this evil, but you have to face it, or else you can never fight it, right? And that's why this whole new age movement is you'll see a lot of truthers and new agers. They're all about positivity, but they call it toxic positivity, is because you're living in positivity without acknowledging any of the bad stuff. So how can you fix the bad stuff if you don't know about it? So you do have to spend some time in the bad to kind of to know what you're fighting, right?
Okay.
So you have,
I think what you're saying is,
yeah.
I think what you're saying is your recommendation is that people become aware of what's out there.
Yeah.
But don't dwell on it.
Yes.
Don't just focus on that.
Yeah.
Because if you focus on the negativity,
yes.
that draws you in, and
yes.
you become pulled down,
yes.
and you're not able to function correctly.
Yes.
Your
yes.
health, your immune system gets pulled down, all that
yep.
kind of stuff,
yep.
because you're depressed or
yep.
anxious and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I think that's what you're saying.
Exactly
right?
what I'm saying. Exactly.
So instead, what you're saying investigate enough, but keep it at arm's length.
Yes.
Don't let it get into your heart.
Bingo.
Right?
Yes.
So become aware.
Yeah.
It's like you said, crossing the street.
Yeah.
You got to look around.
Yes.
You got to be aware of when the cars are coming.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When the light says you can go.
Exactly.
Right. So because you got to be afraid enough of a car to be able to avoid it
exactly.
being hit by one. Right?
Exactly.
So,
and that's why they.
But you can't be obsessed about being hit by cars.
No.
If you only focus on being hit
Yes.
by cars,
Exactly.
you're not going to be a happy person. You're
Yes.
going to be all that stuff.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So you're saying, I think, in answer to the question is awareness and staying, but
Staying
balancing
happy.
the awareness
Yes.
and then staying in your heart
Yes.
and coming at the whole situation from a place of love.
Love. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Rather than a place of fear.
And a lot of people, and this is what the problem with sheeple, are people that don't want to face this scary stuff about this world domination and, you know, the New World Order and one world government. People just don't want, and that's where this cognitive dissonance comes into play, right? People are so in this fear reality, they don't want to. That's when you're in a place of love, in your place of safety, you are happy, you're safe.
Yeah.
You're willing to accept, or not accept, but you're willing to investigate new ideas, new avenues, new information, and then you decide whether it's true or not, right?
Okay.
So from a place of love and confidence and happiness, you're better at disseminating truth from fiction, right? Or if you're fearful, you just look at the one side, and you don't look at other sides, and you're very so you just accept what's kind of pushed down to you by your peers or what you claim to think is authority, right?
There's actually a term for that in psychology. You tend, what happens is if you're fearful,
Blinders
right,
on.
you get tunnel vision.
Yes.
And you obsess about what you're afraid of.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that makes you unaware because you're only looking at just that one
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
And
yes.
That leaves you vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think what you're hinting at is it leaves you vulnerable to manipulation. Is that correct?
Yes. Bingo. Yes. Yes.
So that you can be manipulated because you're not aware, for example, for starters.
Yeah.
And because you're so afraid, you get a little bit desperate for a solution.
Yes, you get
right?
desperate for a solution. Exactly. And so how do the elites control you? Through fear. And how do they control you through fear? Misinformation. So if you are fearful of the right stuff, you'll do the right thing. If you're fearful of the wrong stuff, you'll do the wrong thing, right? So that's why this manipulation and fear is how the government gets you to do something against your own best interest.
Interesting. So what you're saying is that the government is manipulating people.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Right. Yeah. And they're doing it through fear.
Yes.
So would you say that?
And they know what they're doing.
So
they know
the
exactly
messaging we're getting from the government, and can I also include the media? Is that
yes?
Would you include the media?
Yes. The word for it is called fear porn.
Fear porn.
Fear porn.
So all the stuff about COVID being the worst thing ever in history. We have to shut down the economy.
Yes.
Everybody stay inside. All these mandates.
Yep.
These say we're here for your safety. We're doing all this stuff for your safety. Is
fear
word,
porn.
Yes.
Fear porn.
That was the word you had. Yeah. So. Wrap up.
Wrap up. Yeah. I'm getting cold too.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So your solution to get out of it is to stay in your heart.
Yes.
And to let your message be heard.
Yes.
So you're here. He's got his drum. Can you play your drum for us a little bit?
He's a professional.
Zoltan, can you?
Okay. Let me say one.
Can you roll us out with a drum?
Okay. One thing.
That'd be amazing.
Can I say one more thing though?
Yeah,
in terms of the solution.
Yeah.
The solution is obviously we can't beat them at their game. And their game is a few people holding power against everyone else. So it's a pyramid system, right? The only way we can't beat that system.
Right.
That's their strategy. So we're not going to go head to head with them. Our strategy has to be everyone has to do small things, like the masses have to do small things that are not in line with their system. So we have to do the small things that are towards love, not towards the fear system, right?
Okay, gotcha.
So that what that means in terms of you have to be responsible, self-responsible. Don't give your responsibility to a government. So the government wants us to be kids. That's why they call it the nanny state, right? So then you're their parent.
Yeah.
Government's a parent.
Yeah.
We stay perpetual kids.
Right.
So we have to get out of that. We have to become adults. That means we have to be responsible. Responsible for
what is
all
respo-
aspects
what is
of our being.
What does that mean?
Food,
Res-
shelter,
in what-
everything.
how about it- in what-
So
what's an example?
being more self-sustainable, like for instance, having your own garden, your own home garden,
Okay.
or having a network of friends where you can get food locally,
Okay.
or in case, like, say the supermarket shuts down or whatever, you're self-reliant.
So self-sufficiency kind of thing?
Self-sufficiency, stocking a bit of food at home,
Yeah.
not living like, paycheck to paycheck, or like, food by food, like, I don't have any food in my fridge. My fridge is empty. What if there's an emergency, and
Right.
then or the power goes down?
Right.
Do you have dry food doesn't need refrigeration? Do you have water on hand? Do you have certain skills? Do you have a skill that you can trade for a commodity? Let's say the currency is gone, right? What do you do? Well, what if I have some precious metals, or say I've got something that you want, I've got clothes, or I've got a skill set that I can trade to you for something, right? So basically,
we do our healing services. So what you're saying
exactly.
is, if you know how to do my taxes,
Yes.
you can do my taxes, and then we can help you with our healing services in
Yes.
exchange,
In exchange.
barter.
Exactly.
We don't need the money economy that way.
That's right.
So that's
right.
taking responsibility
Exactly.
for our own lives,
Yep.
and taking it out of the hands of the system. It's ultimately controlled by the banks and
Yes.
things like that,
yes.
right?
And
And the need for us to have
perfect.
commute to work every day, work
Yeah.
for a big corporation.
Yeah, so that way you're not
We're
dependent. You're not dependent on a government. You're not dependent on
big corporation.
a big corporation.
Yeah.
And again, so that's on a personal level, being more self-sufficient. But on a mid kind of level, like, don't shop at these big super, Walmarts and Amazon and all that. Try to shop at a mom and pop shop, because what happens is when you spend your money locally into like a small family shop, they spend their money locally as well to maybe go take their kids to school
Right.
or whatever. So the money stays within an area. If you have a Walmart in an area,
Yeah.
what they do is they take that money. It's like a vacuum. They're sucking the money out of that system into
Out of your community.
an offshore bank account.
Yeah.
So basically, if this area is generating money, and you got Walmarts and Amazon sucking this money out, now this is all becoming poor. But if you spend it on small businesses, it just recirculates, right? So stuff like that. So shopping local, trying to get local food, support your local dairy farmers or whatever.
Would a small thing include demonstrating like you did today, right?
Yeah.
Is that a small thing, taking responsibility?
Yes.
And not
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's an example
Of
of
a
going
small-
along with the program.
Yes. Yeah.
Wrapping up.
We're wrapping it up. Okay.
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 Is
Okay.
that what you wanted to say?
Yes. Yeah. That's what I
You
want to say.
You want
That's
play
what I
a
want to
little
say.
bit?
Here we go.
You can both side by side.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's okay.
There you go.
Sorry, who are you? Hello, I'm Paul.
No, it's me.
Pleasure
I'm
to meet
Paul.
you.
Who are you?